Let's make it add the message that we actually type into our input. And we are not going to cheat and use the DOM because we are in React's world now. We're going to do things the React way. And what way is that? We have our React docs open here to the lists and keys page. Let's search the docs. Reactjs.org. The docs are really good. Really thorough, lots of examples. Look at the table of contents over there on the right. See what's right after lists and keys? Forms, what do you know? Ooh, look what's right above that, conditional rendering. Huh. Just in case the homework's about conditional rendering. Forms. HTML forms work a little bit differently from other DOM elements in React because form elements naturally keep some internal state. For example, this form in plain HTML accepts a single name. The form has the default HTML form behavior of browsing to a new page when the user submits the form. If you want this behavior in React, it just works. In most cases, though, it's convenient to have a JavaScript function that handles the submission of the form and has access to the data that the user entered into the form. The standard way to achieve this is with a technique called controlled components. So we will make a controlled component. In HTML, form elements such as input, text area, and select typically maintain their own state and update it based on user input. You type a letter, that letter appears in the field, right? So really, the DOM is just managing the state of that element internally. In React, mutable state is typically kept in the state property of components and only updated with set state. But we can combine the two by making the React state be the single source of truth. In other words, make React responsible for what gets shown in that form field, not the DOM. So, long story short, the way to do that is to set the value prop on an input and just set it to something from state. So if we want a controlled form here, what we probably ought to do is keep track of that as message form's internal state. So message form does actually need to be a class because we need state. So it can't be a stateless functional component anymore. Thankfully, that's not hard to change. So we'll just import component along with React. And instead of const message equals arrow function, I'll say class message form extends component. So handle submit is now a method, not a variable. So just get rid of the word const. And thanks to property initializers, that's all we have to do. It's a method now. Inside there, we say props.addMessage. Now that it's a real component, a class component, what does that change to? This.props.addMessage. Yeah. So this.props.addMessage, because we no longer have things coming in as an argument. And yeah, this return statement is now outside of any method. That's the return statement for the render function, right? The render method. So we need to add a render method. Indent all this stuff. One more thing we need to change. What's our onSubmit right now? So instead of just handle submit now, it's this dot handle submit, right? Because handle submit is a method of our class. So change handle submit to this dot handle submit, and we've changed it to a class, and hopefully it works just like it did before. Yep. Totally works. So now that we have that, we can set state. So we recently learned we don't actually have to have a constructor. We could just say state equals. So we'll do it that way this time. Why not? And what do I need in state? How about the body of the message? just body. We'll make it an empty string to start. So then to make it a controlled form, I just add value to the input. Value equals curly braces. What? If I want this thing, what do I type there? Someone who's not sitting in the front row? I want body here to be the value of this input, so what do I put? Thank you very much, sir. This.state.body totally works. And now it is a controlled component. So let's see what that means. It means I can't type in there anymore. Because now React is responsible for telling that input what it should have in it. That's okay. That's what we wanted. Let's keep reading. Let's look at the next example. We can write the form as a controlled component. So here in this example, they have this.state. .value is an empty string. Here's our input. Value equals this.state.value. On change equals this handle change, and handle change sets state with whatever event target value is. So let's break that down. There's a change event on inputs that gets fired every time you type anything. Anytime that value changes anyway. So every time you strike a key, on change will run. So let's do that. On change, don't forget the capital C. And it should call, we'll make a new one called handle change, just like they did. Handle change equals, it'll receive an event as an argument. So on change equals this dot handle change. And that'll run every time we do anything. So let me just real quick say console log yo. Start typing in here. Get on my console. I just type a letter, yo, type a letter. Every time I type a letter, yo. Good. So it really is calling that every time it changes. And in their example, they used event.target.value. So what would the event target be here? It's not the form this time, because it's not the submit, right? It's on change on the input. So every time you change anything on the input, so the event, the change event, is firing on the input itself. So the target this time is actually the text input, because that's where we're listening for the change, right? So what we could do, following their example, this.setState, we want to change the body to event.target.value. Now I can type again. So let's look at the state for the form. Here's message form. Here's my state. I have body, which is an empty string. I start typing. Every time I change a letter, the state changes. Cool. So that's a step in the right direction. That seems like that makes it easier to do the thing we're trying to do. What are we trying to do? Yeah, actually take our custom message and add it to the array. So what could we do now? Now we know that this .state.body is going to have whatever is typed in there. So what if add message could receive an argument? So let's go back to chat where add message lives. Let's make it receive an argument. Body seems like a reasonable name for that argument. And instead of setting body to I'm excited for dinner, we'll set it to whatever body was passed in as the argument. So we could totally use the shorthand here, right? Body colon body. I could just say body. And it's the same thing as saying body colon body. So the property body will be set to the value that's in the variable body. Does that much work? Let's find our chat component in the DevTools. Now it's $R. Let's call $R dot add message. Yeah. No, it is not necessary. I just like to do it because if I add something underneath it, I'm going to forget to go put the comma there. So no, it's allowed, but it is not necessary. I just like to do it. So add message. What do you say, Lakshmi? What's that? Okay. Hello? Totally works. Except Gian said it, but it works. We got what we typed in here, right? One thing at a time. Yeah. When you did it in the console? Okay, so this is just, yeah. What I've proved here is that we can pass an argument into this now. But from there, from message form, we're not passing in an argument. We're just calling add message. So how can I change this line? In our handle submit, instead of just calling add message, we want to pass in an argument, right? And any string we pass in there will be added. So what should we put? This.state.body, which we now have proved will be whatever we typed in the form, right? What do you say there, Stuart? There we go. Cool. It works. What do you say, my new best friend, Noah? By golly, it works. What's your shirt say, Owen? Burn, burn? Burn blue? I don't know what the crap that means, but cool. Sounds intense. All right, so we did it. Now whatever we type ends up in there. Huh?
Does your button work or do you hit enter?
Da, da, da. Ooh. The buttons is, they is broken. Button type equals button. Oh, I did that. That's why you copied that. Yeah, I meant type equals submit. I'm surprised anything worked. Yeah, button type equals submit. Yeah, that's not a submit button. Heck, if I had just left type off, it would have worked because that's the default. But type equals submit. I just got to typing and got out of control. So now, yeah, totally works. Yep, you're not crazy. That was my mistake. All right, so add messages via a controlled form. Yep, type equals submit.